My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Museum Open House. This ongoing series features and highlights many of the outstanding museums and other cultural institutions. The main purpose of most programs is to inform viewers about current and upcoming exhibits, various programs, resources, and other opportunities that are available for the general public. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Brian Howard. Brian serves as the executive director of the Spellman Museum of Stamps and Postal History, which is located on the Regis College campus in Weston. During the program, learn about the history and mission of the Spellman Museum. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate the wide range of exhibits, programs, events, and other opportunities that are available for visitors today. Let's start by meeting Brian and then hearing all about the Spellman Museum of Stamps and Postal History. Welcome, Brian. So delighted to be here.
Jay, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and to talk about the Spellman and everything we have going.
Terrific, terrific. I know last week I had the wonderful opportunity to visit again, learned a lot, eager to find out more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would be of interest if you just briefly add a little bit more about your background, attraction to the museum, and what your current position entails, please.
Okay, sure. Well, I typically lead with something that may be a little counterintuitive, and that is that I am not a stamp collector. I am a longtime museum administrator, originally from upstate New York, and the Spellman is the third museum that I have served as its executive director. My background is mostly in American history. My two previous directorial positions were with the North Andover Historical Society up on the North Shore. And prior to that, I ran the Oneida County History Center in upstate New York, and I was there for 12 and a half years.
Hmm.
So the museum a couple of years ago, the Spellman Museum, their director's position came open, and their search committee was explicit in not searching for a dedicated stamp collector per se, but
Huh.
they were looking for a museum administrator. And I brought about 20 years of experience doing that and have been very fortunate to get involved with a fantastic organization. We are filled with great people. Just about every one of them is more knowledgeable in the world of stamps and philately than am I. But we all work together to produce a fantastic facility, not only for the stamp collecting community, but for the citizens of Greater Boston, the Metro West, and anybody who comes through our doors.
Now, I can see the impact and your vision through the type of programming that's available at the museum that even goes beyond stamp collecting per se, which we'll touch on a little bit. For those not familiar with a little of the background, could you share the history, the mission, how the museum came about, please?
The Spellman Museum is one of only two dedicated philatelic or philately is the hobby of stamp collecting. And so the museum is one of only two dedicated philatelic museums in the United States. The only other one is the National Postal Museum, which is a part of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So the museum is in it's not in a unique position with the Postal Museum there as well, but we occupy a real niche in the preservation and pursuit of American and world history, culture, the sciences, the arts, and we do that through the medium of postage stamps, but
Hmm.
also this more all-encompassing term postal history, which includes letters, stampless covers, postcards, anything that people would use to communicate via the written word in physical form has a home at the Spellman. We are named for Cardinal Francis Spellman. He
Mhm.
was the Archbishop of New York from 1939 until his death in 1967. Cardinal Spellman, although he spent most of his time in New York, grew up around Boston, and
Hmm.
he had a very close relationship with Boston's Sisters of St. Joseph convent. The Sisters of St. Joseph were the founders of Regis College,
Ah.
and therefore Cardinal Spellman had a lifelong affiliation with the sisters. And as his stamp collection grew during the early and mid 20th century, it became untenable for him to continue to carry it around to wherever he was
Hmm.
serving in the Catholic Church. And his collection was entrusted to the sisters who stored it on the Regis College campus for several decades. After the Second World War, as Regis and a lot of colleges were growing at the time, thanks in large part to the GI Bill. There were some
Hmm.
other factors as well. Eventually the baby boom came about, but the campus was growing and needed the space that they had allocated for the Cardinals collection for other purposes. So a new home was needed. Concurrent with that, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in 1948, a dedicated philatelic museum was established. It was called the National Philatelic Museum.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, that only existed for about 9 years. I think it was 1957. The Philatelic Museum went out of business. I believe they're located now, or their location was on what is now the campus of Temple. But about the same time that Cardinal Spellman's collection needed a new home, so did the assets of the National Philatelic Museum.
Ah.
So the creation of a dedicated philatelic museum was just seemed to be a natural outcome. Funding was raised, and there was little question as to where it was going to be located. And in March of 1962, ground was broken on the museum's home. The cornerstone for the building was laid in July of 1962. If you come into our lobby, you'll see the shovel that Cardinal Spellman used to do the
Mm.
groundbreaking, as well as the trowel that was used to lay the cornerstone. And in May of 1963, the museum opened to the public, and we exist today largely meeting our original intended mission, which is to preserve materials related to the hobby of stamp collecting, the vocation of philately, and to promote all of the things that are reflected in stamps and postal history materials that both reflect culture and also promote the avocation of stamp collecting. So we've been going strong for over 60 years.
Terrific, fantastic overview. Let's step in. And for those who haven't had the opportunity yet to visit, this is a wonderful image of the main gallery area. If you could take us through a little or just highlight how the area is laid out, the intention for the different displays.
Mhm. The museum is a multi-purpose facility, so we have not only exhibits of two and three-dimensional materials, but as you see here, we had chairs laid out for one of our many public programs. We have made a commitment to have at least one on-site program per month
Mm.
and also one off-site educational outreach activity, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So this layout here, we pull chairs from our children's room and from our library, and we'll bring them into the main gallery because having programs in the gallery immerses the visitor in the museum's materials. We are not necessarily what I would consider a destination museum, for example, the MFA would be something that one might plan an entire day or possibly even a whole weekend around. This museum and the ones I've been involved in my career, mostly small and mid-sized facilities, are more geared toward special interests, but
Mm.
also they serve as community centers, and that drives most of our traffic. Um, we'll typically have anywhere from a dozen to 3 dozen walk-in visitors each week, but most of our visitation is driven by public programs, and you can see that our main gallery here is set up for that. Around the perimeter are different rotating exhibits of primarily stamps,
Mhm.
but of course we have some postal history material as well. Postal history, for example, we have what are called stampless covers. Prior to 1840, the postage stamp didn't exist. The recipient was responsible for paying the cost of bringing written materials to them. The advent of the postage stamp in May of 1840 in England really democratized communication, not only in England where it began, but eventually within 15 to 20 years, it was a worldwide phenomenon. And much like the internet did 25, 30 years ago, it allowed people to communicate across vast distances at a very low cost. And that really, truly impacted the development of humanity. So we take our mission very seriously and try with our exhibits to put up not only things that entertain, but also inform people that, many of whom, especially our younger visitors, may have never used a postage stamp before.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
but
true.
yeah, but that foster an appreciation for the importance of this communication method.
Terrific. Well, we're going to continue with our slides and have them help tell the story of the museum. And this is a wonderful example of how you take a theme or a topic in history, like the American Revolution, and display it for visitors and even create activities for maybe younger visitors to interact with the museum. Could you speak a little bit either to this one or the broader topic of thematic historical displays?
Well, this is a great example of what the museum can do to get people interested in our case here in Eastern Massachusetts in what is local history,
Mm.
but of course is a nationwide story. We are now within the 250th anniversary years of the American Revolution, and this arrangement of stamps was brought together recently to facilitate the one of our public programs, a American Revolution scavenger hunt, which we're going to be launching for the summer of 2025. And it gives visitors the opportunity to immerse themselves in this particular topic, of course, the American Revolution. We are encouraging people to look at this layout of stamps and to visit sites which are related to those stamps. For example, the one with Abigail Adams,
Mhm.
go down to Quincy and see the National Historic Site there, the birthplace of John Adams and John Quincy Adams. Um, Salem Poor, who is an African American from the North Shore who fought at Bunker Hill. His burial site is in Boston. The name of the cemetery escapes me unfortunately right now, but visitors who engage in this scavenger hunt will have an opportunity to visit all of these sites around our area through the lens of postal history and get a real deep lesson in something which is going to be a major theme in this region for the next several years.
Most
So,
definitely, most definitely.
so
What
this,
are what are some of the most rare or unusual stamps in the collection?
Uh, oh, geez. Well, I'm gonna kind of take the fifth on that. As I'd said at the beginning of the interview, I myself am not a stamp collector. I know some of the highlights. Now I can speak to them, but people interested in learning all the details about what we have, because a very small portion of what our collection constitutes is actually on display at one time. So I would encourage people to call in and they can get a much better understanding from talking with, for example, our curator.
Terrific.
But the I talked just a few moments ago about the creation of the postage stamp. The very first stamp ever put out was one called the penny black. It was a
Mm.
one penny stamp that was issued in London, England, starting May 6th of 1840. The way that stamps are printed, they are printed as full sheets, multiple copies of the same stamp, of course, and then cut and distributed. The penny black did not have any adhesive on the back to begin with, but we have an entire sheet of penny blacks that has been reconstituted from many different sheets on display. And while to the philatelic community, that stamp is not particularly super rare. It marks the very beginning. And to have a full sheet of this, the very first stamp ever put out
Mm.
is quite a feather in our cap.
Most definitely. Let's continue our tour. This wonderful area, the children's room. Just a few words about this and some more about educational programming.
So much of what the museum does has to do with outreach to visitors who may have never used a postage stamp in their life and may have no frame of reference for it because they didn't grow up with it. That makes our children's activities all the more important. And this room is the center for those activities. We have any number of educational events that take place at the museum as well that are geared toward families throughout the year. In the children's room, uh, of course, children will walk in, and as you can see from what's up on the wall and what's on the table, they will instantly be immersed in the world of stamps and philately. The activities on the table are things as simple as create a rainbow of stamps from the different bins of stamps in there. Find a red stamp, find a blue stamp, and yellow and green, and create a rainbow. Glue them onto the page and take that home. Then there are other things, thematic activities. We had one related to stamps from the winter time that was up, and it was a going activity through February. I'm sure that we're going to be doing something with the American Revolution,
Mm.
similar to what you had just seen in the previous slide.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
yeah, it's our goal to bring people. We already have the philatelic community hooked in many ways, and for lack of a better term. Our challenge is making sure that people who have no interest or no frame of reference for philately can come to the museum and find something of value.
Terrific, and definitely an additional challenge, I would think, in the digital age we find ourselves as well. Another area when I was visiting a few days ago that I hadn't been familiar with is the gem collection.
Mhm. Yes, and not gems like opals and garnets and diamonds, but this is our small gallery. We have two galleries and a hallway of exhibits up on our main floor. And this smaller gallery, we call it the Gems from the Vault. The vault is a highly secure space, climate controlled downstairs in the museum, where the vast majority of our collection is housed.
Mm.
Uh, Visitors coming in to the Gems from the Vault gallery will have the opportunity to see the museum's collections, the best of the museum's collections.
Mm.
For example, our entire U.S. stamp collection, examples of which occupy one half of this gallery. And on the other side are our topical collections. We have a great one, which is on loan to us right now from one of our former trustees, a guy named Jeff Shapiro, who put together an exhibit of stamps from the inflationary period in Germany after World War
Mm.
One. And it's fascinating to me, fascinating to go through this display and see just how incredibly devalued um, the German mark was over the few years of the hyperinflation. That's a lesson you can read about, but if you come to a museum and
Mm.
particularly come to ours, you can see firsthand primary source materials that tell that story in a way that just the written word can't. So the other part of the Gems from the Vault Gallery are exhibits like that, Also our core countries. We don't just collect United States stamps. We have a worldwide collection, and we're pleased to be able to show that in the Gems Gallery.
It's a great example of what you were mentioning earlier of the strengths of a specialized museum like the Spellman. These next few images, maybe a few words as we move on, but it speaks to the range of programming that you had referred to earlier as well. Here's a gathering, I believe, of a stamp club.
Yeah, it's not only an example of a great public program, but also the partnerships, which are so important to the museum. We have a long time, very positive, very productive relationship with the Waltham Stamp Club. The club itself, and this is a club meeting from a few weeks ago. They had a Saturday morning breakfast, and I always like that because I get breakfast. So, but that's our new curator, Ken Flowers, talking to the assembled group about actually, I think his program was entitled Gems from the Vault. And he's showing some fantastic materials that don't necessarily get out and on public display. The Waltham Stamp Club is one of the largest, most well-organized clubs in the Northeast United States, if not the largest. And they have great supporters coming in, helping out at the museum, but also taking in all of these fantastic programs that take place. And this is in our downstairs activities room. I think there were 50 people there that day.
Terrific.
And
Well,
again, just a great way for the community to come together and enjoy a shared experience.
most definitely. Speaking of attendance, I know this postcard sale was an incredible draw for the museum.
Yeah, it was. And this is another one of our partner groups. It's a pretty new group as well. The New England Postcard Club formed recently.
Mm.
And this show took place in, let's see, the second week of March of this
Mm.
year. It was their second annual show. In 2024, the show drew over 300 attendees. This year, we likely exceeded that by a fair number. And it was just a one-day show that brought in about 20 vendors from every state in New England as well as New York to peddle their wares and to not only did this promote the hobby of postcard collecting, which is something that hadn't really occurred too much at the museum prior to last year. But it was just a great opportunity again to bring people in to the Spellman who may otherwise never have come in. And we just had a great day. It was a fantastic outreach opportunity for us. The vendors had a great day interacting with all of the visitors. And it's the essence of what the museum, I feel what the museum should be doing for the community. We're a place to bring people together around our mission.
Well, another terrific example, these next few images of creating community events to bring people into the museum who might not be attracted to stamps initially, was this Birds of Prey demonstration.
Yeah, and the great thing about stamps, again, I came from historical societies, from a background where it was mostly local or regional history. And while that is there's a vast range of programming that one could justify under that mission. Coming to the Spellman Museum, when you look at what is reflected on stamps, which are really a reflection of the entities that create them, primarily countries, of course, the opportunities for programming are wide open. And that's what allows us to have things like a postcard show that draws 300 people. And then a week or two later, a Birds of Prey presentation. We had our frames out that showed owls and other birds of prey on
Mm,
stamps. And
nice.
it allowed us to make the connection between something happening in the real world, in big air quotes, the real world, and how people can come in and indulge that interest in the world of philately. We you know we have a great opportunity, and it's really in many ways unique to impact the public. And these programs, I just love it because it brings people in, it gets them excited, and it really reflects well on the Spellman and
Oh,
what we
no, they
still.
seem very popular and informative. We
Mhm,
mentioned there's a range of artifacts on display in addition
mhm,
to stamps themselves, which is fabulous, getting into some postal
mhm,
history. I
mhm.
know here a great example of restoration
Yeah.
of mailboxes here.
Yeah, those mailboxes, they were all, I mean, they're all authentic mailboxes. That's what we have in our collection. If you saw the before picture of these, all three of them had been obviously they were used outside for years, and I did a little digging on their design and was fortunately for us. They came from a period where the Postal Service, it was the Post Office Department prior to 1971, was going through quite a bit of change as it developed through the 20th century. And what you're looking at there are the three different color schemes used by the Post Office Department for its mailboxes, or three of the color schemes used during the 20th century. So we raised funds. Our annual fund drive at the end of 2024 was based around the restoration of these mailboxes, as well as one of the mailbags that was in a previous picture. We raised funds, had the multiple layers of paint taken off, and what you're seeing there are the historically correct appearances of U.S. Post Office Department mailboxes from the 1930s, the 1950s, and then the 1970s. And
Terrific, terrific.
yeah.
In getting to the end of our time, want to point out a store on the premises
Mhm.
for
Yes.
various purchases. Just a very brief word of what's available there.
Anything and everything to promote the hobby of stamp collecting. What you're looking at there are mounts, and then yeah, mounts, magnifying glasses, watermark fluid, anything that the budding philatelist would need to create their collection. We have a huge backlog of surplus material, a lot of which makes it into the store. And those purchases, of course, help to underwrite the museum's ongoing operations. So these commemorative packages here, we have individual stamps, sheets. We have stamps in a format called a plate block, which are four stamps together, dating back to the very first stamps ever issued by the United States. We have a smaller collection of worldwide materials, and the public is invited to come in, and it's an opportunity for them to take a piece of postal history and a good experience from the Spellman home with them.
Terrific, terrific. Well, Brian, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank you so much for being here. Want to inform viewers that in the credits, there'll be contact information to find out about upcoming ongoing events. Definitely want to mention well worth signing up for the newsletter. Very informative. Just read the recent one. Lots going on in
Mhm.
the upcoming weeks and the future. So please sign up for that as well as just go to the website as well. But continued success with future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk about the Spellman Museum, and my best wishes to you as well. You run a great series there. It's a really great thing for the community. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Also want to thank those of you watching for joining and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.